Well, tributes are underway in Cuba after the death of Fidel Castro, believe it or not. Tens of thousands of Cubans are paying their last respects, presumably some forced to do so. And the mainstream media is joining in to praise Fidel Castro. The Washington Post, listen to this, calling the Cuban dictator, quote, a spiritual beacon for the world's far left. The New York Times calling him, quote, a Cuban revolutionary who defied the United States. Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters, Fox News strategic analyst, joins me now. Well, let's deal with the low-hanging fruit first of all, because it's fun to deal. I mean, these comments are just off the wall. I don't think there's anybody who's been more effusive in praise of this dictator than the Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau, whose father was also a prime minister who praised Fidel. Here's what he said. He called Fidel, while a controversial figure, both Mr. Castro's supporters and detractors recognized his tremendous dedication and love for the Cuban people, who had a deep and lasting affection for El Comandante. I mean, love for the Cuban people as he was shooting them in the head?
Well, David, Justin Trudeau has the intellectual heft of cotton candy. But his statement, his just stunning statement right after Castro's death, before he tried to walk it back, making Castro sound like Mother Teresa with a beard, was exemplary of how the left reacts to any bloody, murderous dictator who learns how to say justice for the people, anti-imperialism, and a few other catchwords. I mean, Castro was brutal. And I remember, I'm old enough to remember being a kid when Americans first thought Castro might be great because the Batista regime he overthrew was corrupt. The mob ran the Havana casinos. And they even sold little kids Castro caps with fake beards. Right. But we learned very quickly that he was murderous. He and Raul Castro, his brother, and the vicious Che Guevara, who the left has turned into a saint.
Well, both Che Guevara and Raul used to take people out in the back and shoot them. I mean, it was that simple.
Right.
They were both executioners. They enjoyed it. But, you know, what bothers me, Colonel, is that it goes beyond just stupid comments like the Canadian Prime Minister or the press. Sometimes the United States actually worked to help Fidel Castro in various ways, depending on the administration. I know that happened during the Clinton administration back in the 90s. Remember Elian Gonzalez, the little boy whose mother took him out? And then at gunpoint, he was returned to Cuba. There's this awful photograph of armed men. These are U.S. officials taking out Elian and bringing him back to Cuba. So sometimes the U.S. actually helped Fidel in his quest.
Well, I think a number of U.S. presidents, Jimmy Carter, but obviously President Obama, just fell under the spell of generations of left-wing propaganda and softness toward this particular dictatorship. It goes back to the New York Times when Castro was still up in the Sierra Maestre starting his revolution. Herbert Matthews, a Times correspondent, went down there and wrote these glowing articles about freedom fighters from the mountains. And the left has clung to this myth. I mean, the people of Cuba have stood still for 50 years. They've been imprisoned. They have no freedom of speech. They're poor, $25 a month average income. They've been treated like dirt. Their vaunted educational system is all propaganda. Right. The medical system, they did provide more medical care, but how many American sympathizers of Castro go to Cuba?
We got to leave it at that. But I got to say, Colonel, I was in Cuba. I went to pharmacies. They didn't have aspirin. I mean, so much for their vaunted health care system. Right. I think it's not what it's cracked up to be.
Castro was a beast.
Colonel Ralph Peters, let's leave it at that. Thank you very much.